A drone strike, a fake viral video, and a singer's scandal. Is Europe simply facing a series of isolated incidents? Or are these the early warning signs of a crisis that could rewrite the rules of conflict forever? On the battlefields of Ukraine, escalation has reached new heights. Ukrainian forces openly claim responsibility for attacks deep inside Russian territory, blurring the lines of war and provoking threats of devastating retaliation. Russian officials warn of deploying their most advanced missiles, raising the specter of weapons never before seen in combat. Meanwhile, a bitter diplomatic standoff is unfolding between Moscow and Washington, with each side trading accusations and warnings. Tensions simmer, not just in official statements, but in secret backroom negotiations and public outrage. But the battlefield has expanded far beyond the front lines. Across Europe, a new wave of information warfare is taking hold. Sophisticated deepfake videos and coordinated disinformation campaigns flood social media, twisting facts, fomenting division, and eroding trust in governments across the continent. Even culture is not immune. In Kazakhstan, a scandal involving a popular singer has sparked fierce debates about identity, influence, and the power of art to ignite national controversy. This incident, though seemingly unrelated to military or political news, reveals how interconnected Europe's crises have become. Ignore these signals, and you risk underestimating how tightly entwined military, informational, and cultural conflicts now are. The cost is not just confusion, it's your security, your influence, and your understanding of the forces reshaping Europe. To grasp how these turbulent forces intersect, we have to look first at Europe's most volatile borders, and the decisions being made there right now. Lithuania prepares for a total border closure, over balloons carrying contraband. It sounds almost surreal, but this is the latest flashpoint pushing Europe toward the edge. Tensions at the Lithuania-Belarus border have escalated rapidly after a series of incidents where balloons, reportedly launched from Belarus, floated across the frontier, carrying illegal cigarettes and other contraband. What at first seemed like a quirky smuggling tactic is now being interpreted by Lithuanian officials as a test of the country's resolve, a clear element of hybrid warfare designed to provoke confusion and force asymmetric responses. Now, Vilnius is considering an extraordinary step, a complete and potentially long-term shutdown of its border with Belarus. National security authorities have been placed on high alert, as leadership weighs not just the threat of smuggling, but the symbolic message behind these acts. The stakes are even higher, because any comprehensive closure could disrupt the critical transit corridor for EU-bound goods moving between Lithuania and Russia's Kaliningrad exclave, a move that could ripple across the entire region's economy overnight. Concerns for public safety have already prompted temporary closures of Lithuania's largest airports and several major border crossings. These unprecedented actions underscore just how seriously the government is taking the situation. President Gitanas Nausėda has called on the nation to remain calm, but made it clear that all national security services are working at maximum readiness, and no option is off the table. Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė has convened an emergency national security committee, urging citizens not to panic while signaling that drastic measures may be imminent. The message from Lithuania's leaders is unmistakable. This is not just about cigarettes or balloons. It's about sovereignty, security, and Europe's collective red lines. A single miscalculation, a missed hybrid tactic, and the continent could find itself isolated or facing sudden economic shock. But as the border drama unfolds, another front is opening, this time in the battle for influence and resources. Europe's next crisis may not come from physical incursions, but from the ways information and financial power are being weaponized. While borders harden in the east, a subtler battle is raging over Europe's wallets and its digital spaces, transforming how governments respond and who really sets the rules. Slovakia says not a single bullet for free, while Germany faces a flood of AI-generated fakes. So, where is the real battle in Europe being fought? On the financial front, Slovakia's Prime Minister stands firm. His country will not support any European Union plan to fund Ukraine's war effort. He warns that confiscating Russian assets, estimated at around 140 billion euros, could trigger a wave of lawsuits and Russian retaliation, even threatening to seize European property in return. Slovakia's message is clear. Aid may be sold, but nothing will be given away. Meanwhile, in Germany, the information war is reaching new heights. Deepfake videos have spread rapidly on social media, targeting politicians and stoking public fear. One viral clip falsely presents a top conservative leader as a dictator, allegedly preparing men for conscription and plotting war against Russia. Another fake, disguised as news, claims a surge in attacks on French and Polish tourists in Germany. Behind these digital attacks is evidence pointing to a sophisticated Russian information group. Investigative journalists and watchdogs say that a network known as Storm 1516 is orchestrating these campaigns, using advanced AI tools to blur the lines between reality and fiction. But the hybrid war is not just virtual, it's escalating on the ground as well. Ukrainian forces have struck a dam in Belgorod, causing water levels to plunge and potentially flooding Russian military positions nearby. Kiev claims this could cut off Russian troops from their supply lines, while Moscow threatens severe retaliation, including the use of its newest missiles. Russian officials openly discuss carpet bombing and targeting Ukrainian infrastructure in response. Amid all this, both Ukrainian and Russian sides issue conflicting reports from the front lines near Pokrovsk and Kupiansk. Each claims advances and enemy encirclements, but independent verification remains elusive. The truth is buried beneath layers of propaganda and military secrecy. If we fail to grasp the depth of this hybrid war, financial, informational, and military, we risk being manipulated, losing our influence on policy, and facing sudden escalation. The stakes are not just for governments, but for every citizen whose security and future hang in the balance. As the fog of war thickens, both sides now issue chilling warnings, and hints of nuclear risks are no longer just whispers. Russia has just notified the United States of a test for its latest nuclear-powered cruise missile. At the same time, rhetoric between Moscow and Washington is turning personal and venomous. The world is left to wonder, who truly holds the power to shape Europe's fate? On the diplomatic front, tensions are boiling over. Russian officials are accused of spreading deliberate disinformation during a high-profile visit to the United States, igniting a new scandal and further poisoning already fragile trust. Threats and propaganda now spill from every statement, with both sides escalating their warnings. American and Russian leaders exchange public barbs, each blaming the other for economic pain and threatened stability. Sanctions pile up as both nations try to weaponize financial suffering, but neither side shows signs of backing down. Meanwhile, the specter of more punishing measures hangs over international markets, deepening global anxiety. Inside Ukraine, the mood is somber but defiant. Top Ukrainian officials openly admit to catastrophic losses and increasingly dire positions on the battlefield. Yet, they pledge to resist for years if necessary, refusing to surrender even as the odds turn against them. Across Western Europe, leaders voice growing skepticism that a stable peace is possible anytime soon. Quietly, many warn that the conflict could drag on for years, sapping resources, dividing societies, and perhaps sliding into an endless, grinding war. This is not just a military crisis. It is a hybrid conflict shaping everything from international alliances to the daily lives of millions. The margin for error is vanishingly thin. A single miscalculation or reckless move now could unleash a chain of events that spirals far beyond Ukraine, redrawing borders and destroying livelihoods across the continent. But the conflict is no longer confined to politicians and generals. It is seeping into music, culture, and even the way people experience their daily routines, setting the stage for an entirely new front in Europe's struggle. When a simple concert gift bag turns into a national scandal, what hope do we have for clear communication in today's complex world? In Kazakhstan, an incident at a Russian singer's concert quickly ballooned from a local misunderstanding into a major symbol of cultural and political tension. Suddenly, a handbag's color and the objects inside became charged with meaning, sparking debates about identity, loyalty, and the boundaries between art and propaganda. What happened next reveals the true power of social media in the era of hybrid conflict. Online, the story was picked up, twisted, and amplified, with commentators across the region using it to fuel outrage, reinforce divisions, or score political points. What began as a minor event soon escalated into a regional controversy, demonstrating how quickly local sparks can ignite much larger fires. Authorities and event organizers tried desperately to contain the fallout, issuing statements, clarifying intentions, and, in some cases, apologizing. But their efforts only highlighted how fragile public sentiment has become. Once a narrative takes off online, it is nearly impossible to control. Even well-intentioned explanations can be drowned out by waves of speculation and anger. This is the new reality of hybrid conflict, where symbols, stories, and even the colors of everyday objects become weaponized. Modern information warfare blurs the lines between fact and fiction, turning seemingly ordinary moments into tools for influence and division. No one is immune. What you say, wear, or share online can be swept up into conflicts far beyond your control. So what can you actually do to protect yourself? First, be skeptical of viral stories. Always check the original source and look for confirmation before reacting or sharing. Stay informed through multiple trusted channels, and be aware that not every emotional headline reflects the full truth. Recognize how hybrid threats can target your perceptions, shape your conversations, and even affect seemingly trivial aspects of daily life. If we let our guard down, ordinary people become pawns, or casualties, in battles they never chose to join. In this environment, vigilance is not just wise, it's essential. But as hybrid threats evolve, how are governments and communities fighting back? And what new risks are emerging on the horizon? Hybrid war is not just a headline, it is a daily reality. Are you ready to spot the next front, even when it is hidden in plain sight? Europe now faces threats on every level. Military clashes, digital disinformation, and even cultural scandals have become weapons, fired not just at governments, but at you and your daily world. What was once a distant crisis is now breaking through borders, both physical and psychological. Staying informed is no longer optional. In a landscape where deepfakes and fake news spread faster than facts, those who let their guard down risk losing more than just the plot. They risk their peace of mind, their ability to choose, and even their personal safety. Remember, every manipulated video, every shifting border policy, and every public panic is designed to divide and distract. You have the agency to resist. Adopt a critical mindset, question wildly viral stories, seek multiple sources, and avoid sharing content that feels too perfect or too enraging. Talk to your friends and family about what hybrid warfare really means, and do not assume you are immune because the crisis seems far away. Today, the front lines cross through our social feeds and living rooms. The future stability of Europe and the credibility of Western democracies depends on everyday people refusing to be manipulated. Take ownership of your information diet. Demand accountability from leaders and media alike. Prepare, not in panic, but with clear eyes and steady nerves. Only those who stay alert, informed, and critical will keep their agency and peace of mind intact. The cost of complacency is simply too high. If you have made it this far, you are already ahead of the curve. But the next move belongs to you. Will you use your awareness to shape the narrative, or let events shape you?